I'm going to do is, so we have guesstimates, right? So we are going to solve 3 guesstimates, right? And we have almost 20 minutes. So what I'm going to do, this is how I have divided the session. Initial couple of minutes, I'll give you my introduction and some context on guesstimate. And then we will directly jump to today's session, today's content, which is guesstimates. Okay. So basically, my name is Alok Srivastav. I am co-founder of goCrackIt. My previous company was PricewaterhouseCoopers, PwC, and then I started goCrackIt in almost 8 years back. And I would have helped more than, on a one-on-one basis, more than 3,000, 4,000 students and working professionals individually, and would have conducted more than hundreds of workshops. I'm also an IIM Bangalore alumnus. So that's about me. And what I'm going to do today is I am going to share my experiences of interviews and different things. So it's not just about what you should do, but it's also about how do you maintain your composure when you are in any interview. And today's focus is more on guesstimate. So as you might know, just to give you a quick context on guesstimate. So guesstimate is basically you have to estimate a number based on very limited information, and that's why it is called guesstimate, right? You are not supposed to know things, and they'll give you an uncertain question, and you need to come with a number with some assumption. With whatever you know, you need to refer that number to bring some other number. Okay, that's the idea of guesstimate. And basically it is to see your mental math, or in general how good or bad are you in maths calculations, your logical thinking. Can you break down a problem? Can you break down an uncertain problem to some structure, and your problem solving skills? So that's what is basically kind of evaluated in guesstimates, right? And again, the idea is that there's no right answer. They're not expecting you a right number to say. They are expecting you that if I give you a problem, how do you break it down? How do you communicate? How do you do assume some numbers, given some numbers, and how do you calculate with those numbers? So that's about guesstimate. Let's see uh, different guesstimates. So let's see first guesstimate. The first guesstimate is estimate the number of auto rides in a day in Mumbai. I'm giving you 1 minute time to think, and if you how do you really start? If you know something, or if you want to say something, let me know, or you just think about it and write it down in your notepad. That if you are given this problem, that estimate the number of auto rides in a day in Mumbai, how would you approach it? What will be your approach? You can put it in the chat also, and you can tell me also by unmuting yourself. But if you have to estimate the number of auto rides in a day, what will be your approach? Think for a minute, and then let's discuss. Yeah. Anyone, if somebody wants to put some thoughts to it, want to say something, or want to put it in the chat. If this is the problem given to you, okay. So population of Mumbai, yeah, correct. Very good. So my tip would be always start with asking clarifying question. Have you understood this problem correctly? Even if you know everything, you should ask some clarifying question to make sure that you have understood the problem clearly. For example, is it clear, or do you have any clarifying question on this? Some of the clarifying question could be, and my suggestion would be always ask clarifying question on the things which has been given in the problem statement. What do you mean by auto rides in a day in Mumbai? What exactly, right? So ask some clarifying questions. So first is clarify and scope. So first you clarify the problem, and then you scope the problem clearly. What do you mean by that? Let's see. Clarification. Any specific reason for which I need to do the estimate? Is it weekday or weekends? So in a day, right? In a day, is it a weekday or weekend? Because there will be different numbers, right? For any specific segment, are you talking about any specific population, or your specific area, or like is it urban Mumbai or the entire Mumbai? Some clarifying question which will give you a better understanding, and more importantly, it will be signaling recruiter that okay, this person doesn't just jump to the solution. He or she thinks about the problem, try to understand the problem, and then only calculate it. It's very important that you ask clarifying question, and then even before calculating anything, you define the scope of the problem. That this is what I am doing. For example, I will estimate passenger trips taken on auto rickshaws across Mumbai in a typical weekday. Hope this is fine. You are scoping what you are going to calculate, so that so that you are not creating your scope so big that you cannot calculate, so that you have clarity that this is what you are doing it, and more importantly, you are signaling again the recruiter that you can really give a very objective way of doing anything. And scoping is one of the very important piece in guesstimate. So you clarify it and you scope it. Now let's think about next step, which is what are the top. Now you need to think about how are you going to approach. Let's say this is what you're going to calculate. What will be your approach? Now in your approach, what I will suggest is always think about minimum 3 to maximum 5 factors which will help you calculate this number. What is this number? This I will estimate passenger trips taken on auto rickshaws across Mumbai in a typical weekday. What would be, and think about 3 to 5 factors. So what will be 3 to 5 factors to calculate auto rides or passenger rides in auto? Can somebody think about it? 3 to 5, not 1 or 2, at least 3 to 5. What will be 3 to 5 factors to estimate the number of passenger rides in auto in Mumbai? Can somebody think about it? Take a pause, think about it, and let me know. Anyone? So let's see. So my suggestion is always to create a framework or to approach, think about 3 to 5 factors to come up with that number. So let's see. So number of passenger rides in a day, population, key segments which will be traveling from auto rickshaws, percentage of people. So key segments is which are the key segments which are likely to take auto, out of which how many people will actually take auto, number of rides per passenger, because a passenger can do multiple rides in a day, and then total number of passengers. These are the factors. Yeah, first last mile connectivity. Yeah, that also you can do, right? So these are the factors which you look at. Now you need to estimate. You need to put a number. You can always check with recruiter. You want to show your confidence, right? You always check. We have a conversation with a recruiter. I am thinking some of these points. Do you think is it okay? Should I go ahead with this, or do you have something in your mind, or would you like to suggest something, or should I go ahead with this? Oh, can I go with this? Yeah, peak versus non-peak hours. Very important. Very good. Yes, you can do it. We will see it in the next slides. Very good. Right? So these are some of the factors would you like to look at. Now you need to define your framework, right? And then follow that framework. So let's see. Now, what is the population of Mumbai? If you know, great, at least know some numbers, some population numbers, like India population, metro numbers, metro cities population, your own city's population, world population. Some numbers will be really great to know. How many are young, how many are older people, like working class people, urban, rural percentage, low income, high income, medium income. Those kind of numbers you should know. You should research, or you should have this handy. But let's say there is a number. Now you estimate the number. So population is, let's say 2 crore is the population of Mumbai. Key segments, assuming that working professional and students, which is 60%, let's say, and school going kids 20%. So these many people might take, auto. Now, how many percentage of these people might take auto? Let's say 30% from working professional and student, and school going kids, I'm assuming lesser. So this. Now you ask, do you think this is okay till now? So far, so good. So you keep conversing with the recruiter to show your confidence. That is very important. Nobody knows the number. but you are showing your logical approach, your problem solving skills, your confidence. That is what is very important in this kind of exercise, right? Sometimes recruiters say, I think 10% looks lower to me. Why do you think it's 10%? Have a confidence. You say, I think there are a lot of other transport, and typically what I have seen that generally people, kids go by bus to school, or people or parents drop them. So I think 10% is good number. Later on, if it looks very lower, we can revise it. Something like that. Have a confidence, right, in explaining your logical thinking. Okay. Then number of rides. So see, generally what happens, there should be every passenger will take 2 rides, to and fro, generally. But maybe some people might not take by returning or by going. It may happen. Hence, I have taken an average number of 1.5 instead of 2. So number of trips per day per passenger is 1.5 is what I am assuming, right? And then you are calculating the number. So total number of trips. First you do this, total number of trips, and then you got the passenger trips. Now, there's a very important thing I wanted to again take back a step back. Let's say what we have done, we have calculated passenger trips. I mean, every person who's taking an auto to and fro, let's say 1.5, and we are calculating. What if we want to calculate this? That should shared auto be treated as one ride or multiple passenger ride? Right now, what we have done, in an auto, if 2 people are going, we are count, and even if it is a 1 auto trip, we are counting it as a 2 trip, right? That's the nuance here, right? Because we have taken individual trip. But let's say a recruiter says, okay, I also wanted to know the auto trips because there will be some, some shared auto. Then what will you do? Can somebody tell me? Right now, what we have taken, every passenger, as many trip he is saying, we are multiplying it. We have not considered that an auto might take multiple people. So in an auto, one auto trip, and if it is carrying 3 people, there will be 3 passenger trips. So that's the difference, right? If you have to consider that also, let's say recruiter tell you, no, I want auto trips. What about, the shared autos? Then what you can do, right now you can say, as per my scoping, see what we have scoped it. I will estimate passenger trips. You are saying that as per my scoping, I have calculated passenger trips, right? And actually you have taken the approval from him also. Later on, let's say he says, I want auto trips, right? Then what you need to do is, can you hear me, all of you? Yeah. You need to see how many people on an average go in an auto. So maximum 3, minimum 1, right? We are not counting another assumption we can state later on. We are not counting empty auto trips. This is a very important thing because there are some auto who is going from one place to another empty. We are not taking it. We are saying that on an average, there are, let's say, average number of people in pet auto is 1.5. It could be 1 minimum. It could be 3 maximum. I am taking a middle number 1.5. Like every auto trip, every auto trip might have 1.5 average passengers in that auto. Hence, whatever that number came, passenger trips, we can divide it by 1.5 and we get the auto trips. This is to show that if we want to consider, pooled auto also, then this will be the number. You don't have to do it unless it is prompted for, because your scoping itself is saying that I wanted to calculate passenger trip. But let's say an auto trip is to be calculated, then you will divide by average occupancy of the auto, which is minimum 1, maximum 3. I have taken a, kind of a middle number, or a bit lesser than middle number actually, 1.5. Middle number should be 2, but I have taken a lesser because I see lesser at least in Mumbai, I see lesser pooled auto versus singular autos. Okay, but that's okay. You are showing your logical thinking, that is more important. So that is how you calculate. Any doubt, any question in this first this thing? Then we'll go to next guesstimate. Great. So now let's see the next guesstimate, and let's juxtapose it with the first guesstimate. So the next guesstimate is So yeah, as I said, right, you should know these numbers, global population, Indian population, and all those things. That will be really great for you. Okay. And then you do sense check basically. So sense check basically population and all that. Yeah, you just have a rough sense check whether this number is correct or not. So this is the final approach. Clarify and scope. What is your approach? What is your step in sense check? The sense check is nothing but we have calculated, for example, that we have 60 lakhs auto rides, passenger rides, and we know that there are 2 crore people. So on a back of envelope, I am calculating that how many rides total are there in Mumbai in a day, and auto rides are almost 20%, 5% of them, which looks fine to me intuitively. That out of every 4%, maybe 1% is taking auto, which looks fine to me. That's why I am okay with it. Otherwise, you can always say, okay, it looks lesser, maybe in some assumptions. So you need to show again confidence. Say, okay, it looks lesser. Maybe the number which I assumed here is should be lesser or more, depending upon what you're saying. Okay. But these are back of the envelope calculation. Okay. Now let's see the next estimate. How many metro train trips in a day in Bangalore? Now we will solve it. It's a similar to auto trips catch question, but the difference here is I'll tell you the difference. But before that, anyone who want to kind of how will you approach this question if you have to solve it? Anyone? Okay. Hours of operation. Very good. Very good. So see, now the difference between metro train and auto rides are that metro train are still countable. There are lakhs of autos in Mumbai, but metro train, at least we know that they are in hundreds in terms of metro rides, right? So metro train trips, or I think it should be more about how many metro passenger trips. Okay, how many metro? Yeah, how many? So basically, the question I wanted to ask here is that how many people in a day? How many people in a day ride through a metro? That's the question. How many people? How many people rides metro in a day? So that's the question. Okay. So let's see. Now, since metros are countable, what I'm assuming is, so you do all this, right? Clarify and approach and this thing. I'm directly jumping to the solution, but you need to follow a step-by-step method. You need to clarify. You need to put a scope that I wanted to calculate number of passenger rides in a metro, in a line. You know, all those estimate, all those scoping you need to do. Then you need to put an approach, estimate the number, and do a quick sense check. But I'm directly jumping to the solution. Now, what we are trying to do here is that number of metros trips in Bangalore for a specific route. So this is my scope. I wanted to calculate number of metro trips by total people, right? People trip, passenger trips, metro passenger trips. So how many people in a day travel by metro for a specific route? That I have scoped it. That I am not calculating for hundreds of route. I am taking one route and I am calculating for that. Hope this is fine with you. That's what you need to communicate. Okay. Now, I am taking a bottom-up approach. See, I can always start with population the way I have done it from auto rides. I have started with population, then I segmented it, then I taken a percentage, then I calculated it. That is one way. Here, what I'm doing a bottom-up approach, because in a specific route, number of metro routes, lines, the trips will be limited. I can count it, and a bottom-up capacity constraint driven approach will be better. So number of coaches in a train, coach capacity, number of trains in a day to and fro in that route, and busy and non-busy time, so that I can know the capacity utilization. Let's see. Number of coaches, I am assuming there could be 4 or 8. I am assuming 6 coaches or 6 bogies in a train. I am assuming 200 people per coach. So that like 200 to 300 is a good number. You can always say 100 or 300, doesn't matter. But because I have observed, I think 100, 200 is okay number for a coach. It's a longer coach. Number of trains in a day. In a route, I am assuming that every half an hour there is a train starts from point A for point B, and every half an hour, and let's say it's run from 6 a.m. morning into 12 night. So total 18 hours. So 18 hours into, in every hour 2 trains, although it's a smaller number, it should be 4. But for this calculation, I have taken 2, like 2 trains in every hour, and 2 means to and fro. Every time to and fro, there are trains. So there are 72 trains. So total capacity in terms of number of people will be 6 into 200 into 72, which will be around 84,000. I have always rounding it off. Please round off your calculations. Never ever try to multiply something, some different number, right? If possible, kind of make it round off. So now I know in a route with these assumptions, there are 84,000 people who can travel. Now I will give a capacity utilization with busy and non-busy time. So I am assuming that 6 hours is a busy time when 90% is the capacity utilization. Actually, it could be 100 or more than 100. But for this calculation, I have taken 90%. And for non-busy hours, which is 12 hours, because 18 hours ka 12 hours, so 60% is the capacity utilization at that time. Now I will calculate the number. 6 by 18 into 90%, 84K, plus 12 by 18 into 60% into 84K. When I calculate it, almost 58,000 passengers comes into picture, meaning there are 58,000 passenger trips in a specific route of metro, given all these assumptions. So that's how you calculate your numbers. Now we have seen two approaches: top-down approach, where we have taken the population, we segmented it, we further segmented it, we calculated. Bottom-up approach, where we have taken a number, which is coach and everything, whatever is the capacity constraint, we put some number on that capacity constraint and we come up with the number. So you can take any approach to solve a problem. You need to do practice, definitely. We have been uploading a lot of YouTube videos on different guesstimates and case studies on our YouTube channel. Later on, we will share with you the links, or you can go to YouTube and type goCrackIt and you'll find it, so that you practice more. This is the last question, and this question is pretty interesting question. Sometime you may be asked a puzzle. So this is a puzzle. I want you to see this and tell me what will you do? So the puzzle is, you have 8 balls that looks identical. One of them is heavier than others. There are 8 balls. 7 balls actually are of same size, and the 8th ball, one ball, is heavier than others. And you have given a balance scale. A scale has given. You need to find out minimum number of weighing you have to do to identify the heavier ball. Tell me. You think about it and then tell me. What will you do? You have 8 balls. One ball is heavier. You have a weighing scale. You need to identify minimum number of weighing action. Minimum number of type to identify the heavier ball. Will it be 1? Will it be 2? Will it be 3? Will it be 4? Will it be 5? Will it be 6? What is the minimum number possible with which you can identify the heavier ball? Anyone? How will you approach this? Okay, so let's see. Let's see two approaches and let's see how will we arrive at minimum. Let's see the first approach. Yeah, go ahead. Tell me. Group them. Yeah, group them. Definitely we need to group them. Okay, so let's see. First approach. Let's say we divide the balls into 2 groups, group A and group B. Both is having 4 balls each. Then we weigh this group, A and B. We will weigh this group. Then we will definitely identify one heavier group. Okay, either A is heavy or B is heavy. Right. Now divide this heavier group into 2 subgroups. Let's say A is heavy. Right. Now you need to divide it X1 and X2. Let's say A, you have divided into X1 and X2. Both have 2 balls each. Right. Now you weigh them. You may identify one subgroup as heavier. Either X1 is heavier or X2 is heavier. And let's say X1 is heavier. Then you have 2 balls in X1. You just take one ball each and find the identify ball. So how many weighing right now you have done? How many weighing? How many times weighing you have done in this approach? How many times you weighed? You use the scale, weighing scale? Can somebody tell me? 3 times, right? You have weighed it here to identify whether A is heavy or B is heavy. Once you find out that A is heavy, you divided them into X1 and X2, and then you again find out whether X1 is heavy or X2 is heavy. Then you, let's say X1 is heavy, you weigh whether this ball is heavy or that ball is heavy. So there are 3 weighing you have done in this approach, right? So something like this, divide the balls into 2 groups. Either A is heavier or B is heavier, right? You divide, if A is heavy, let's say, you divide it into X1 and X2. Again, you weigh them. Either X1 is heavy or X2 heavy. And then you again weigh them. So there are 3 times weighing. Now let's see, is there any possibility that we can minimum, right? We need to name minimum. Whether 3 is minimum, that we don't know that. So let's see one more configuration. That configuration is, let's say, divide the balls into 3 groups. Okay. A group, 3 balls. B group, 3 balls. C group, 3 balls. 2 balls. Now you weigh A and B. If you weigh A and B, either A is heavy or B is heavy or A is equal to B. These are the 3 possibilities, right? If A is equal to B, let's say, then you have C, right? You have C. You know that C might be having a heavier ball. Then you weigh one of these balls and you find out, okay, this ball is heavy. So in this case, when A is equal to B, you identify the heavier ball in 2 times only weighing. Now let's say A is heavy. A is not equal to B. Then you know that, let's say you find out that A is heavier. In that case, you have 3 balls. One of them is heavier. You take any 2 balls from that group and you put it in the scale. If they are equal, then you find out the heavier ball, which is not weighed. If one of them are heavier, one of them are heavier, and you identify the heavier ball. In this case, you weighed only 2 times. So the minimum number of weighing required in this approach is only 2, right? And this is how you find it out. So you do multiple configuration and find out the heavier ball. Can you do it with one? Can you do it with one weighing? I don't know. I'm just asking. Can you do it in one weighing? Can you identify the heavier ball in one weighing? Looks difficult to me, but if somebody knows this, more than welcome. Think about it. But this is how you identify in this puzzle. Any question in this? Was this clear? Great. So these are the 3. These are the 3 guesstimates or puzzles which I wanted to discuss. Just to summarize, ask clarifying question. Don't jump to solution. I am not looking at your solution, but the approach you take, the communication you make. Have a conversation with the recruiter. Scope the problem clearly. You should not go all over the place. You should say, I want to calculate number of passenger trips taken in a weekday in Mumbai city, whatever it is, and say. Think about important factors. Don't think 100 factors. Think about 3 to 5 factors which can affect this number. Do not overcomplicate with multiple factors. Round off calculation. Don't do 72 into 28. Make it 70 into 30. Right? Do a sense check. If you don't do a sense check, sometimes recruiter will sense check and they will challenge you. Be calm. You say, okay, what you're saying is might be correct. Let me look at my assumptions, because everything whatever arrived it is based on my assumptions. And you can show the assumption and we can discuss together. Okay, I think this assumptions looks a bit broader. Let's do it. Correct. Take interviews hint and don't give up. Don't ever give up. I mean, the last thing you want to give is give up. In any interview, these kind of interview which requires your critical thinking, don't give up. Just keep thinking, keep talking, have a conversation with the recruiter. Want to take you. Just have that discussion with the recruiter. Make yourself memorable. It's what you do is important, but how do you do is even more important in an interview. And you have confidence in yourself, have confidence in your preparation. Do lot of practice, do lot of research, read a lot. Never give up is what I would say. So, and yeah, and the last slide I think is low macro numbers. These are some tips Try to estimate general numbers intuitively. See your room size, see estimated revenue per day of your favorite restaurant. Just keep doing some mental math in general as a habit. That will really sharpen your in general numerical skills or your analytical skills. Team up with your friends, start practicing as early as possible. Do a lot of practice of guesstimates and case studies. Okay. These are some of the courses on guesstimates and consulting and guesstimate bundles are there in these links. Suman or somebody would have already shared, so you can go through them as well. So thank you so much. You can connect me online on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn is, let me see if I can give you my LinkedIn. Yeah, I can give you my LinkedIn. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I generally post a lot of these things, a lot of gyan I post, a lot of motivational thing I post. So feel free to connect with me. Thank you so much. All the very best. Thank you so much once again.